Hello everybody, happy Tuesday. Hope you all are doing great today. We're going to talk about how important a role the paralegal actually plays in the everyday workplace, whether it be private law firm, nonprofit, legal department of a corporation. It could be anywhere. So there will be many more many more reasons why the paralegal plays an important role that I'm going to cover today, but I'm going to cover some very important ones. And when I tell you in other videos that you should learn as much as you can before you ever send out your resume and cover letter, this is why. Because the attorney needs you to help him or her from the very beginning, whether you are a beginner or not. And they need your help. So they are not well versed in the management of, well, hello there. Good morning, Miss Kelly. How are you? So thank you for being here with me, by the way, those of you who are here live. The paralegal's role is vitally important, and I want you to remember that when you're a beginner and as you become a veteran paralegal, okay? So let's talk about some of those areas. When you are in that office, you will be responsible for organizing hard copies of documents, and that they're organized, and in the legal field we hook them in. Usually it's either in separate folders within an expandable file, or some other attorneys will use big notebooks. Others will use a kind of folder that has multiple sections inside, and they all usually have a two-prong system where you have to two-hole punch, not original documents, but copies of documents to put in the file. And so we're responsible for doing all that. Okay, that's one of the things that a lot of us struggle with, is getting to that point when we have all these other tasks to handle during the day. Okay, so we have to actually schedule time during the day. It might be 15 minutes before we go to lunch, 15 minutes after, where people are kind of, just going out of the office to go eat. But it's great because the phones kind of stop ringing and you stop getting calls, and you can just focus on 15 minutes of trying to get ahead on your filing. Okay, so we're also responsible for keeping the client files on the computer. Each client should have their own folder, and there are folders usually within that main folder of like if your folder was on there, you're a client, then under your name will be subfolders for correspondence and pleadings and discovery, whatever type of law you're in. If it's litigation, it'll look like that. And everything has to be organized. Why? Because we have to find it quickly. All right, so now I'm going to give you some examples of, couple examples of how vital the paralegal is. In a bankruptcy, in the bankruptcy field, when you're working on behalf of the public in a law firm, and you have to get a lot of information, and the client is going through an emotional upheaval often in a bankruptcy situation. And so to fill out a 30-page document of all their history, financial history, is vitally important that every single detail be on there. But often the client will leave many of those areas blank because they're having trouble coping. You see? That can go for family law too, because if it's a divorce situation, child custody battle, visitation, it can be such an emotional upheaval that this is where the paralegal comes in, and that your warmth, you can't really be a counselor to that client, because you don't have time for all that. But you've got to get that client moving, and you have to, the more warm you are and kind, the more the client will rely on you and trust that you have that client's best interest at heart. You cannot answer legal questions. You cannot cross that line. Even if you know the answer, can't cross it. That becomes unauthorized practice of law, okay? But the strength comes in where you're able to gently push that client, because there's usually a deadline in most cases that we're working up against, and we've got to move quickly. So here's the scenario that can occur in a bankruptcy field. And it could be that they fill out 28 to 30 pages of a financial history and everything they own. And then they leave out a bank account, or they say that they don't own a business, or they have X amount of money on hand. When you look at their bank account, they've given you their statements, and you see that thousands of dollars were deposited from someone or somewhere. Then you've got to question the client gently and say, okay, so tell me about this $10,000 deposited on whatever date. So we become major detectives, okay? And we're getting that information. That's one area of law where a paralegal is so vitally important. One of the other areas, which you may not have heard of, but was my favorite area to work in, was the opposite side. And it was where people go to law school, and then they pass the bar, and then they have to apply to their state bar. They have to fill out an application. And that the organization involved with that does a background check. And I mean, it's like the CIA. And they do a background check, and they find out some things that was never disclosed before. And so then there has to be a hearing. And it's an area that I never knew existed. But I worked for an attorney who helped other potential attorneys try to be licensed. You know, once you pass the bar, you have to apply to the bar. And not everybody gets in. So that was an interesting area, so interesting to work in. And so when I was on the phone with one of our bar applicants, one of our people who just passed the bar, but they were setting up a hearing because they didn't like what they saw in the application and in the background check. So I started asking questions, and I found out that after about 10 minutes of just talking and all of that, he finally divulged what the truth was about us. I won't go into detail, but a specific area. And it was not what he claimed originally. And so now, because what happens? Okay, let's go back to bankruptcy. If the client is lying and hiding stuff, which happens a lot, then your questioning can bring out the truth easily, and sometimes it'll be the attorney's questioning, but your questioning will bring out the truth. And why is that important? In bankruptcy, once you file bankruptcy, everything you own becomes the property of the trustee of the court. And so the trustee will find out what you really have, and they may send people to your house. So it's that kind of scenario. So let's jump to the other that I mentioned about people who pass the bar and they can't get in and can't become an attorney until they go through a hearing. Well, at the hearing, there are usually two attorneys and one person who's not an attorney. It could be a college professor, and they grill that person until they get to the truth. And so the sooner you get the truth out there, the better that, it can be dealt with way ahead of going to that hearing. But people are afraid to tell the truth. And the paralegal can develop that relationship quickly by being kind and warm, and that truth will come out. So that's an interesting area. So let's talk about another area, deadlines. And when a case is going to trial, when it all just starts, the initial documents are being filed, the court will set out a whole list of deadlines that we have to meet. And this is up to us as paralegals to really stay on top of that. What the New York Times found out, now listen to this, they found 80 cases where the legal team failed to file crucial documents in their client's defense on time. Now, there's no excuse for that. That's just negligence. But that's how important the legal team is. And you might say, well, that's up to the attorney to be responsible for that. Ultimately, the attorney is responsible. But then why are we there as paralegals? Why are we being employed in that capacity? To help in those areas and be the driving force. So remember that. We have to think ahead, and within 2 months you're going to know so much more than your first couple days on the job. But the more you learn beforehand, the better off you will be. Okay, there are certain things in a 2-year degree program and a certificate program they never teach you, okay, because it's taught by attorneys who don't manage the work. The paralegals manage the work, okay? So when the paralegal inner circle class is offered again by me in the near future, or the cover letter secrets class, take those classes because they're developed by a 30-year veteran who has your best interest at heart, okay? So think about how you can get prepared way before you start sending your resume and cover letter out, okay? And if you ever doubt how important a paralegal is to an attorney, then Google that. You know, go Google that phrase. You know, what's the paralegal's role in assisting the attorney? Go Google that today. And some of what you'll find is what I was talking about here. It's much more comprehensive than what I covered today, okay? And I cover that in the Paralegal Inner Circle class and systems you have to use in order to help the attorney in the most effective way and to become a valuable member of that legal team. And don't be like that group that the New York Times discovered who couldn't keep up with the deadlines. There are easy ways to do that. And that's when you increase your value to the hiring attorney, okay? And you can find all that, what the systems are and everything, you know, before you jump into the legal field, because they don't train you. Even if they say it in the ad, they don't have time for that. And they really don't. Even if they say it in the ad, always remember that, okay? So be sure that you're looking at the things I've posted today for the Paralegal Career Secrets Black Book. And also, you'll probably see an ad floating around about the Get Callbacks webinar. And I actually redid that whole video, and that's being promoted as a webinar because it's important that you watch that, okay? Be sure that you also become a part of the Paralegal Resources Hub, and you can scroll down and find that link to that. Just it's either in today's, or you can scroll down below and you'll see a picture of Lady Justice holding the scales, and it'll say Paralegal Resources Hub. Become a member of that. You just have to, it's free, you sign up. There are videos in there you must watch as an entry-level brand new paralegal, okay? Or if you're looking at the career for the first time, those are important videos to watch. One is the 4 hot areas. In fact, that's a graphic I think I posted yesterday or the day before. 4 hot areas of law for 2021, and that will take you to the hub, okay? Have a great one today. In the meantime, if you have any questions whatsoever, post them. If you did post a question and I'm not addressing it, it's because Facebook's not showing it right now. They'll show it when I'm off, and I'll cover it then, okay? Have a great one, and I'll talk to you in Thursday's video. Take care. Bye.